Hey, and welcome back to Kyle's Financial News. I'm your host, Kyle. There's not so much news today. Overnight indexes undid a little bit of the selling that we saw yesterday, but are resuming some of that sell-off as we approach the end of the U.S. session today. Today's date is May 24th, 2024. Please remember, it's a 3-day weekend and markets will be closed on Monday. So hope you all have a great weekend, and we will check back in on markets on Tuesday. I will probably not release any videos on Monday. So today I want to talk about a product that I started to look into recently, and that is a number of dividend-focus oriented ETFs being offered by YieldMax, a company called YieldMax. Now, just to be clear, this is not an advertisement for YieldMax. I've never been contacted by them. I'm not sponsored by them. I came across their products through another YouTuber, and I've been doing some research on them since then. So who is YieldMax, or what is their company about? What exactly do they offer in terms of their products? They have a website where you can see all this information too, YieldMaxETFs.com. My understanding so far of what they do is they use covered options strategies in conjunction with some hedge fund investments to generate a monthly dividend income for their investors. So when looking at dividend returning assets, more and more we're starting to see some interest in monthly reoccurring dividend payments versus the quarterly dividend payments. It's a great way to kind of build your portfolio up and add on to that compounding interest factor. So I've inserted a screenshot here that I took of their covered calls and covered put strategies and just a little bit of quick details on that. They explain briefly here in the photos that I've grabbed from their website, and I'll have more details on this when we get into an example fund here in a couple minutes. They are not directly investing in the underlying products or assets, so they don't own actual shares of the correlating company that they're trading these covered option strategies on. An investor also has no rights to a dividend that might come from the underlying stock or ETF that they're trading as a part of their strategy. So, right, they don't own any of the shares. They're not investing in the shares of the company itself. Naturally, there's going to be no dividend passed on to us as an investor in these ETF products. They might claim a little bit of the dividends if they're holding certain options at the right times on the right dates, but they don't pass any of that on directly. If the underlying stock starts to steeply appreciate, there is a cap on the potential gains that will be reflected in the ETF. I suspect this is because the overhead is just shaved off, and then that's a part of the distribution that they pay out in the monthly dividend. I'm fairly sure that's what's happening there. There is no guarantee of a monthly dividend at all. They can't guarantee any consistent percentage return for the monthly dividends, naturally. The annual expense ratio for each of their funds appears to be 0.99%, roughly 1%. Typically, you would see an expense ratio of much lower than that for an ETF, 0.1%, 0.05%, 0.005%, maybe even. So seeing a 1% expense fund ratio is a little bit higher than what you would typically see, but some of the gains that they are proposing that they're able to provide are much higher than what you would typically see as well. So, of course, if you become interested in any of these products, you should take your time to go through their prospectus, which can also be found on each page of their website for each of their funds that they offer. Let's take a look at one of their funds, but first, you know what doesn't have an expense ratio? The subscribe button. It's completely free. Please consider subscribing, and I will continue to do my best to make sure that you only gain from the content that I provide. Okay, let's take a look at their Amazon traded product, AMZY. I will hopefully have a chart for that right here. I chopped off the date axis. This is looking at AMZY from inception, which is about 10 months ago, last August. So we can see that the price itself of the fund does not fluctuate quite to the same percentages that the underlying asset does. If we're just comparing the late October 2023 low in this chart of 1850 to the current price, it's only some 25% difference. But if we look at Amazon themselves, their stock appreciated a little bit over 40% in that same time frame. Now, if we compare the two, they do move relatively identically just because of how they're trading and hedging this fund. So I do want to show that here too. A comparison chart here, the orange light on this chart is representing Amazon's stock. I scaled them differently so it would be easier to see their correlation, but I will also show them here uncorrelated. We can see Amazon just barely runs off the top of the screen here as it's in the north 40% plus area. Of course, the more volatile the underlying stock is, the more volatile the price of the shares within the fund will be too. I also have their fund here tied to Coinbase. Its ticker is CONY, so we can take a look at that. And again, we can compare CONY against Coinbase itself, represented by the orange line again. Back to AMZY though, on YieldMax's website, we can dive into details about past distribution dates and amounts. I will have that here. Here you may also notice just how few days are involved in the entire announcement, recording, distribution process as a part of the monthly dividend. You may also notice just how wildly inconsistent the distribution per share amount is. We can also see the 1 month, 3 month, 6 month, etc. returns. They have all this info again on their website. I'll go ahead and put that right here though. The real juicy stuff is in the positions they detail though. They upload their positions daily, possibly even in real time, but you can also download. They have a file that you can download and see the breakdown of their intraday positions. So I'm going to have that here as well. We can see exactly what contracts they're buying and selling, what treasury notes and bonds they're holding, how many quantity of each, how much cash they have on hand, all that good stuff. So what do you think of this type of product? It's clearly some higher risk, higher return type stuff. There's a bunch of ETFs out there that are not doing this type of thing and just holding the underlying stock with a basket of others and paying maybe a few low single-digit % type dividend payments on a quarterly basis. So that's a part of just kind of that like broad ETF fund diversification type stuff. I may do a video on those in the future as well. This caught my attention just because it seems to be a newer type of product that's being offered recently. I wonder if we may start to see some more types of these funds coming out in the near future. That's all I have for now. If you like this video, hit the thumbs up. Would you consider adding something like this to your dividend portfolio? Let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. I am Kyle. Enjoy your 3-day weekend, and I will see you on Tuesday.